All right, I'm live. This is Verde Busto. And this is from my channel, Schumann Resonances with Verde. I hope everyone's well. Yeah, so, I took a few, I got a bunch of stills of the downtown. This is the financial district. Just giving you a sense of, that's the Turk's Head building, right? I'm in front of One Financial Plaza. That's my go-to coffee thingamabobber. And there's that statue. There's a little plaque over there with the statue. I love these guys. I really do love this place. This is a closing out series. It's I'm doing a bunch of these kind of updates. It's the 15th, 16th, Friday, I think the 16th of November. It was a nice, gorgeous day today. It started out chilly, and it just kind of ended up well. Meditating on, this. They have these tree boxes here with birch in them, I believe. They're just beautiful. This is this kind of oasis, little nook downtown. I just love this place. And in the waning light of the day down here, there's still I'm sorry about the glitching. This is my phone. It's my old Samsung J3. I'm still using it. I started the channel with it. I'm going to end out the channel with it. Apologies. That's what I got. When I move, I'll set up the studio out there in a more better manner. So this is a closing out. This is part of a series of the closing out of the time here. Like I kind of describe this as like a graduate student. I've learned a lot, and I've talked about this. I've talked about this before, but not necessarily in the same context. I've been sober the majority of the time I've been here. Like a quarter of my life, maybe a fifth, so to speak, of my life has been, the better part of it has been sober. And I really, truly have learned a lot. I've expanded a lot. I've come to understand a lot more. Just developed as a person. The alcohol kills, right? Drugs in general, recreationally speaking, or they just kill the spirit, kill the soul, the body, like all that, And so we talk about, I'm part of the program. Hey, how you doing? I do regular meetings, and I talk about it. I'm open about it, because it's been part of my growth. It's important for that to be known. I think that it's a large part of. I couldn't grow mentally, emotionally, spiritually until I was sober a number of years. Right? No alcohol at all. It's fine. Life is much better without it, right? Don't even need to play around with it or fiddle around or question it or no, that's fine. None at all. I'm part of the program, but it's a program of recovery, and that's sort of what, follow the pathway with heart, the pathway of heart, the pathway with heart, that it involves healing for a lot of people, right? And I come from a family where alcohol had always been there as part of it, the abuse cycle, just really not a great kind of childhood. And so there's needed to be a lot of healing from that, and for myself and for other people, and forgiving and all of that, forgetting. And so there's part of what if there really truly is any, how do I say this? If there really truly is any spiritual thing going on here that's most important, it's like healing and finding the frequency of love and connection and unity. Uh, and if need be, it involves losing stuff, material goods or whatever. And that's something that is important to understand, that maybe your growth won't start until you wind up losing stuff, like property. Like a lot of people are going through a really rough time. And so, like it's that time. It is just that time. And so a lot of people are moving, finding a new home for whatever happened. Maybe nothing broke or whatever, but they got to find a new home. They're relocating, and this has been going on for some years now, a few years, since 2012, 2010. I came here in 2009, right? So we're talking about a mass migration of people who are getting the call to move where they're supposed to be going, and that's where I'm at in this. And this is part of the final exam, right? That's my oral exam. And this is part of a series of videos I'm doing that are probably, most of them are going to be unlisted, but if you follow my community page, you'll get the link on that, right? And so I think this is a fun project. Those of you who know me, who follow me, you'll find me on the community page and on Patreon, I think. I got to do some more stuff with Patreon, and I apologize for those of you who are on Patreon. You're not really getting much from me there because I'm not posting as much as I should be, but I thank you just the same for you all being there. I really got to say that, and I've been thinking, I get like $9 a month from Patreon. It's not much, it's a couple people. A lot of other channels do more with it, and I had thought I was going to, and I think in the future I'm going to be. Let's not give up on that. It's a great format, platform, whatever. So just want to note that. Thank you for Patreon. Thank you for my Patreon supporters. Bradley is one of them. And you make a difference. You really do. And I'm going to be doing a fundraiser. That's sort of where I'm kind of going with this, because I want to move out to the West Coast sooner rather than later, be out there before the new year, right? So I'm making plans. That's part of what this video, part of what this series is, this final exam, the oral exam is giving some of my personal life, but from the perspective of course, the channel, Schumann resonances and the earth magnetics and all of that. I'm talking more now about ascension, the evolution of the soul, the spirit of... Okay, pretty sure you heard that. So the ascension of the soul, the evolution of the person, that there's parts of us that are eternal, but the body, the physical body, is property of the planet. It returns back to it. It's made up of the material world, of the material of the planet, right? And so, yes, part of what the thing that needs to be understood is, there is an ascension of the soul, an expansion of the spirit. If you do the work, the planet is not doing it for you. The earth, the sun, none of the solar outbursts, the solar flash, none of that is going to do anything to your DNA externally, except break it down to its constituent elements. All right, the rising frequencies, none of that across the board. The ascension, the spiritual side, has to come from, it's an inside job, which is completed through morals, ethics, scruples, your personality, developing the personality through the exercise of the free will toward that goal of doing good work, acting ethically, morally, and don't steal, and don't run red lights, and take personal responsibility, all this kind of stuff. There's a lot of that seems sort of missing in society these days, of personal responsibility, and that is kind of where I go back to discussing about the program, about the 12 steps, is that it involves one to take a moral inventory of one's behavior and to accept responsibility for, wrongs you've done people, right? And I've had to make amends, and I've had to tell people I'm sorry, and you got to learn from your past mistakes. And that's part of one of the things of society that is going to be getting dealt with as time moves on. There's a lot that's happening with the solar flash and this stuff, but it's not about your DNA somehow transmogrifying into a crystalline silicate-based form. Like, that's not the science behind the solar flash. You can't just go making stuff up about the effects of the solar, materially speaking, and call it a spiritual transformation, a spiritual transmogrification, consider it a spiritual issue when it's not, and so we can all right, so we're talking about the Schumann resonances, we're talking about Earth, geoelectricity, magnetics, Earth electricity, magnetics of ELF, seismic channels, all this stuff, about how the Earth and the electric circuits and all of that affect us. Like, that's a real thing, right? Because that is we are physically a part of the material of the planet. Okay. So there is a part of this, of a theoretical, the Earth theoretically kind of evolving and ascending, right? Okay, I mean, it's there on the table. It's not that this isn't on the table. We humans are supposed to help this along consciously or willfully, though, right? It's not, the Earth isn't, if you think that there's an ascension of your soul, your spirit, or whatever, and you know that, then you got to lead that. You can't, it's not something that happens to you. You need to walk this pathway, and walking is an active thing. No matter how fast you're going, even slow speed walking, it's an active thing, right? And so one's pathway in this ascension bit, it's not, you're not the negative receiving end of it. You're supposed to be the positive, bringing the positive. I said this. There is no positivity except what you bring to the table. Positive is not or bring to the equation. Positive is not a destination. It's a direction of travel, right? Like, that's how I think I'm going to make that as a slogan on a T-shirt, right? I think that'll actually be a really good slogan to put on a T-shirt, right? My own kind of phrase. A positivity is not a destination. It's a how do I say that? I'll have to remember it again. Positive is not a destination. Positivity is not a something or other. I don't know. I'll rewind it and I'll say, oh, that's brilliant. Okay. But anyway. So, the positivity is not coming unless you're the one bringing it, right? Well, that's it. Yep. You have to bring it with you. You have to kind of raise the resonances of the genetic material, which can only come through laughter and having fun and joking, right? That's part of one of the problems we talk about. Like, this is another going to be a separate subject for another video, I think, talking about the unified unity consciousness, the collectivity, what the collective really is. That's a communist concept. But if you talk about collective ascension, you need to include, I'm going to definitely do another video on this, you definitely need to include, I've said before, personality ascension comes to the personality. And so if you're talking about collective ascension and the edification of the personality, the refinement of the personality into a higher resonance being, if you think, you believe that collective ascension, all of this, we're happening at one time, it's all one unified unity thing, you need to include all these nuisance streamers and all these idiots and narcissists who won't take responsibility. You're right there on camera talking about what you're going to do this and that, and in real life, like quote unquote real life, you're always streaming yourself doing some stupid shit, and when you're held accountable, why are you mad at me? Why are you hate? What's the hate? Like, okay, all right. So that is its own thing that will be dealt with. The planet will be planet. How do I say this? I've said this before. These are a lot of the final exam here are going to be reminders of things I've said before in other contexts and other times. And this is all going to be wrapping this all together of kind of what I'm saying here. That the Earth will be dealing with a lot of this in her way, in a lot of different ways, a lot of different fashions as we move forward. This great solar flash that, all these idiot ascensionists are always talking about, it's going to be the evolution of man is coming through this great solar flash. The Carrington event was the last great solar. It's not we've had in 2000. What the fuck was it? I think it was 2012. I think maybe 2011. We had a great size solar flare. Solar flash. We are blessed not to get any great solar flashes, never mind the one that is going to take us over the edge and flip everything upside down, and it will be a bedevilment. It will not be a good time for that great the great solar flare, the great solar flash. You don't know what you're talking about. The Carrington event was the last great solar flash that we got, and it set telegram wires on fire, and the amount of devastation that level outburst would do today with the weakened field and the poles racing to their new home, that would not be a good thing, right? A happy, fun thing, right? Yet, on another note, like it's one of the things that is due to happen. I'll just put this out there that suspicious observers is calling that the micronova. It's like that's one of the things that we're kind of due at this point of the regular the big one, right? It's what most of these things miss us. As I've said before, I've talked about this before, I've written it in comments, but certainly on my community page about how eventually we're gonna get the big one, the big solar flare. Most of these, because I pay attention. There's other channels that do a better job of sun watching, space watching than I do, and I watch them, and I always make a maybe not always, but I put links, I share their channels, and the ones that do it, suspicious observers, and there's other ones that are space watching better than I am, and I try and leave that to the experts to let them explain the graphs and charts to them. My job is the Schumann resonances, and it's a different thing from the ionosphere down, right? That's what the job of the Schumann resonance explainer guy is. and the earth currents and the tellurics, and I'll take responsibility for all that. But basically, from the magnetosphere, magnetopause, and it's important to know just root cause, flares, CMEs, flares, solar flashes, all of that, right? Okay, so it's important to understand that in a general sense. Yet, because we have this crossover of them saying, well, the solar flash is going to be bringing, ascension, and especially changing up of the DNA and all of that. Like, oh, you've now jumped ship, so to speak, or you maybe jumped shark, as it were, and you're now kind of crossing over into a different category of something other than just sun watching and solar watching, because you're saying it's now going to be, part of the spiritual ascension. And I will tell you of myself that I have made it through my ascension and all of that, and I'm the only reason I'm in this here form is because there's still an explaining to do about how this works, and about the fact that the DNA changes up, but it's not in a way you think it's going to happen, and that's not a spiritual, jump into, reconnecting your DNA. Like, that's not what's happening. Like, the sun is cooking and baking and breaking stuff down, especially the UVs, and that great solar flash is going to cook a lot of stuff. It's going to overwhelm the grid, and there's going to be a lot of chaos and madness ensuing when people can't access the system and the network's down, and you got to get out of the city for when that happens. And I will tell you, on the spiritual kind of the higher plane, the research into this, about talking about the Kali Yuga, Kala Yuga, not Kali, but Kala, Kala, the demon, Kala Yuga. It's not Kali, Kala, like cauliflower, Kala Yuga. The ending up of the great cycle, it's coming like my having read, like, I didn't know that much about what their text says about, the Indian, the Sanskrit, the Hindi, and all of that said about the Kali Yuga, right? But in the East, there's a lot more of the discussion of that and the great cycle and all of that, and so I had to do some research on it, and so I have, from my end, this end of we're looking at the pole shift. Okay, this is the hard science, what I call hard science, and then there's, mythologically speaking, of how they calculate that, and their best calculator came up with a guess that matches up with what Ben over at Suspicious talks about, and it's like, yeah, there's an intersection, there's a vector there, it's coming soon, time to get out of the city, right? Because a lot of these miss us. The CMEs miss us, and we get just a brush by, just a whisk by, and not the brunt of a lot of this stuff. The majority of it, we're not in the crosshairs of. But there will be a time, that great solar flash, it's coming. Be rest assured, within the next few years, there's gonna be a hit, and some of these have been close enough that, I'm praying that it doesn't happen, right? We're not getting the solar flare yet, right? Because people aren't ready. They're not ever going to be ready, really. But I need to be more ready out in the desert. There's not. That's part of what the thing of it too is. We talk about. When in the Bible it says, right, in the somewhere in the scripture it says, you know not the time, the place that the end is coming. It comes like a thief in the night, and you have to be ready. Okay, so there's not a timeline, there's not a timetable, other than be ready always, right? And I'm at the point now, got the eviction notice, as it were, and it's time to move, right? There's just no other way to put it. And all my stuff has to get boxed up. Right? That's one of the things that's needs to happen. That's kind of the next step I'm at, is box everything up and then just get ready to move, right? I don't have much stuff. I really don't have much stuff. The jaws of this life have taken the majority of stuff that I've had, including the plans I had with it, which is fine. I'm traveling light, and I'm okay with that. So, I think I'm not sure if I still have loose ends here at the conversation-wise here that I need to wrap up. But part of this, like I said, this is part of a it's my final exam here. Part of it, talking about Ascension of the human soul, the spirit. What's going on with the future of humanity. And I give you everything I give you from my guides, my spirit guides, who are happy to tell me anything I need to know, and I'm happy to answer any questions you have. And what I largely ask, tell me what I need to tell people at this time, right? I'm getting kind of close to the end. I'm just I hurt everywhere. And this last time of the trip to the hospital, oh my God, today I had to bring that bike. I have a bike I painted over to the shop to have them work on it. And part of the time, the back wheel, wasn't turning. And so I kept dragging it like, oh my fucking God, like a mile. It was a mile away. And it was like, this is exactly what I need after 2 weeks in the hospital of, rest and just kind of, relaxing, I guess, but, recuperating is here. I'm back in the saddle. We're full tilt boogie back at work, and so, anyway, so I'm going to be doing a fundraiser. This is part of like an introductory to a fundraiser to help me get out west to Jacqueline's. I need help from my audience. I have 2,000, almost 3,000 subscribers. Good God, if everyone sent me $1 from every one of you, I'd be flying out there tomorrow. Like, holy crap. So, this is kind of like, everything is in relevance to the Schumann. Anyway, back to the topic. And everything that I'm saying is kind of in relevance to the Schumann resonances or earth electricity, or in a lot of cases, it's actually the principles, right? It's not just, in fact, I apply principles to the Schumann. I apply principles to all of this stuff. That's the most, it tells you in the book, tells you right in the manual that you need to apply the principles to the facts rather than facts to the principles, and change. Like you don't even have any guiding principles. You're just always kind of jumping from here to there, and anyway. I'm off track. I'm way off track. But like that's what I apply to the Schumann, like the principles of electromagnetics and electric and magnetic, to like even the personality, right? I've been talking lately about how we evolve and we ascend through our personalities. That's how we interact with each other, right? This is, and especially through finding our voice, right? And like I'm doing a lot of this free form. I don't have a script. Most of my videos, I've always had a script of some type, right? Well, this series here, I sort of have written some stuff, but not much. This is, I'm all right, brother. How you doing? This is more me, kind of my internal dialogue that I would be writing down on this topic. And so this is really kind of a free-form oral exam here of my take on the city, about what I've done here. Me personally, it's a very personal thing here. These are more personal than formal. When I write stuff, I can edit, and it's different. Like this is kind of spur of the moment, me being a personality, and so some of this is more rambling than usual. I don't know, but eventually I seem to get back on track. So this is very personal from me. It's the final exam for this whole kind of, like I said, I feel like a graduate student. I've been here long enough in the college town, seeped in a lot of research. I read. I've been, I have my channel. You have my channel to see the kind of what I've been doing with my time, and how, like this, I've explained the whole process, and I'm someone that knows how to read those graphs and all of that. And yet, if you have some crazy backed perspective, for lack of a better word, on on how to read the graphs and how to read that information, and what, like what amplitude is, what is the quality, what's frequency, any of that, what frequency is of itself, like that's important to understand. Frequency is a wavelength, and it's a measurement of distance, and it's not like, hertz is one way to measure frequency, but it's like, no, frequency properly is a wavelength. It properly is a distance, right? So amplitude is basically the electron count, right? It's the voltage in the atmosphere. What you might call total electron content, right? Just they use that phrase. Just that's kind of what what it is, right? All right. So TEC is a little different than amplitude, but it's close enough that you can kind of get that, put that word into perspective, that TEC is basically amplitude, okay? Total electron content of the atmosphere, all right? So, quality is the magnetics, and that's really what the Schumann resonance is, right? So, yet, how does that relate to personality? Well, I'll tell you what. Are you a happy, fun person? Okay. Or a sad person? Or are you like me? I'm a technical person, and I can relate to the bicycle and like a technician. Okay. And that's sort of my personality. That's my how do I say that? My predilection, right? Like that's my personality type as a technician, and that's why you understand all this stuff. But one-on-one dialogue with people, it's difficult, So that's sort of what this process here is: finding my voice of personality, developing my personality, fun side of my personality, so that I'm not sad and miserable, right? And as I've said before, positive, the polarity, positive is a direction of travel, and so it's something you bring with you, okay? Positivity is something you bring with you. Positive is not a destination. That's what it is, right? Positivity is something you bring with you. That's what the shirt will say, right? And positive is not a destination. So, right, you can be a happy person and be smiling and be cheery, and it adds, years and, youth onto your person. Or you can be dour and miserable, and it changes your physiognomy. It changes it changes you, right? Either positive or negative direction. And I can talk about the direction of travel of the signal, but it's, positive is a frequency, right? This is kind of how it all sort of works out here, right? And this is what the ascension of the soul and the spirit is, of putting frequency into action, that it's not something that happens to you, right? You have to bring it with you. You have to be a positive person. You have to be of that sort. You have to be a smiling, bright, and shining person. It has to be of you. But if you don't have that, if you're not of that sort, you can't fake the funk for long, right? And so the only way that you can get a positive refill on what you give out to others is if you're getting it from Source, Prime Source Creator, And like I have a picture of the pure light avatar of Prime Source Creator at the firelight of the amethyst flame, of the eternal amethyst purple flame, right? And so that's a vision I have, but it's something that causes me to be happy, and it is something that is like eternal. It's beyond me, that I pull from, right? And the only way to refresh your batteries is if you pull from something that's eternal, pull from something that is from source, that is something wonderful, and blah, 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 blah. So, all right, so we're getting close to the time. Like Starbucks is, I think they're closed, getting closed, and I think I'm going to be closing up this video. I apologize if this is too rambling or whatever. Hopefully in my circular kind of way, I get back to things that I had kind of left hanging and dangling. So this is again part of the final exam series that I'm doing here in this sleepy little college town in the I don't know if it's sleepy in the Northeast, it's been enough fun. It's been a wonderful time here. I've had a great experience, but it's just time to leave for a number of reasons, and reasons that I'm talking about, that I have talked about, and for other reasons that I'm not, going to, really even get into. And I think it's just, it's time. The universe is telling me that it's time to hit the road, Jack. So I gotta, pack up my stuff. Like that's the next thing happening. Then after that, get a ticket, and then I need to have also a tent or some kind of a yurt, maybe. That's part of the deal. Is you got to bring the shelter with you, right? Okay. So that's I leave that up to the universe, and I crowdsource that as well. Like okay, anyone have a tent? Anyone have a tiny home or something? This is going to be a wonderful experience. Because it's time to move, time to get on. Because I am done here. I don't want to say I'm fed up, but I am fed up. And it's just time to move. And my guides have, what am I at, 27 minutes, I think. Hold on. 37 minutes, or 38, almost. Nice, yeah, and a video goes for 33 minutes, all right, yep. So that was, I get a note, I can't say anything, so that was a little note that came up at 33 minutes saying this is another video. All right, that's cool, part 2, I guess, that's fine. I got a lot to say, I haven't said a lot in a while, and I'm rambling like a motherfucker, right? This is 40 minutes, right? What else am I doing? I'm not doing anything else. I want to do a video. I haven't done a video in a while. And I at least have to do something to the people, those of you who like me, who are interested, and who want to, kind of know how I'm doing. And, we're getting close to the end of the cycle here. And, I don't want to give you specifics. I don't want to give you details or dates or any of that shit. Other than just saying this year coming up is going to be a doozy or dandy. It's time, my guys are saying, you've been here long enough, you've seen enough, you've done enough here, right? Like they're agreeing with me. It's not that I'm done here on Earth, but here in this, this town, right? This city. And I've loved it. I have loved it, and that's kind of why I'm doing this too. It's like, it's a dedication. This has been a great place to live up to the point it is, and but it's like going to school. And honestly, when you live downtown here, where all the colleges are, there is a bunch of stuff that's part of it that you get a sense of, like the school and the college and all of that, and yet at the same time, there's also like this transience to it that it's like, I need to get to where I'm going to be going. And the Northeast is no longer home for me, this whole area. I'm from Connecticut originally, and that's not I'm not going back there. And this whole place is just, it's been nice, but it's done. as part, let me just say this too. Part of people ascending is, or the ascension and that whole process is, in some cases, is a matter of people moving to a new location, and because around the world there are a lot of different power vortices, right? You know what I mean? And there's a lot of power vortices out here and around the world, and I think it's, but especially in the desert, out there, out west. I've been reading a lot of Carlos Castaneda and Don Juan and all, like that whole thing. Like, I need to just get out there. It's calling me. I've been here long enough. I've traveled. I actually traveled a good deal here. From being based out here, I've been up to Quebec, Montreal skiing. I went down to West Virginia, which is beautiful country. Pennsylvania, been to Pennsylvania a few times. I've been up to Maine, Vermont, New Hampshire, like all the states on the, New York a few times, New Jersey. I've been to, Sacramento out in California, Oregon, both of those trips out west, Ellen paid for them with her frequent flyer miles. She was saving them from my dad, but he wouldn't go anywhere, so blah, blah, blah. Anyway, so she gave them to me. I loved Ellen. She loved me, but she was married to my dad. Whatever. And so I'm waiting for a payment from her estate, the trust, that's going to be getting resolved. So that's largely what's going to cover the cost of living while I'm there. But it'll be nice to get out there as soon as possible, right? So that's sort of what, like I said, sort of what this final exam is it's a fundraising effort. It's included in the, right now these are unlisted. I'm making a number of them, and I think a few of them, like I'll put those for public so that people know what I'm doing. But largely, it's like this. These are for the special viewers who care, and it's a special offering to you, like. I've been talking about the Schumann resonances for 5 years now, and I've explained everything, and I can still explain it, and blah blah blah. I'm always willing to answer questions, but I've reached the end of what, like, posting. I can really, I haven't entirely, but I've gone through it all, right? And what I've posted is years worth of reading, right? It's important to kind of state that the things I posted and all of the how-to and instructionals on how this shit works, there's a lot that you would have to go through it all and learn it and understand it, right? I humbly offer you. So it's like I've dealt with that technical issue. I've dealt with those technical scientific issues, and interweaved in here has always been the narrative, this kind of false narrative about just like the Great Solar Flash, about the evolution of the person, evolution of the soul, and all of that from the external means of Schumann resonances, rising, and blah blah blah, and all of that. And it's a lifetime pursuit trying to explain what it's not more than what it is, right? So I took 5 years to explain what they are, what they actually are. Sorry about that. But now I'm at the point of spending the rest of the whatever life I have explaining what they're not. And that is where we start talking about ascension, an evolution of the soul, an evolution of the spirit, and all of that area, the metaphysical, that how it relates to the Schumann resonances. Okay, whether it does or not, and talking about how the solar flash, great solar flash, what it is, what it means, and relative to what we've had already, right? You can't deny, right? That's part of what this is unveiling the lies to the New Age myth, the New Age narrative of what these things are, right? Or what they're not. And that's part of what part of the mission here is. And so explaining that instead of that, what you're left with is personal responsibility and your ethical and moral behavior being the sole means of one's evolution. I don't know how to better put it than that. Right? That you're not the earth isn't helping you. The earth isn't going to circumvent anything for you. Like you need to bring it. Right? You need to be the one. You have to be the person that is actively, willfully bringing the positivity, bringing what's good, the righteous, bringing the moral, ethical behavior. Right? Like that's the best that can be said, and you can't put responsibility on anyone else for your own bad behavior. Right? That's part of what needs to be